Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Ahman Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_Access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk some Packers. We're going to kind of reset the roster a little bit, if you will. What we're wanting to do here, we went through multiple mock drafts after we've already kind of set the offseason stage for the top needs for the Packers, returning players that need to be re-signed, contract restructures, the whole 9 yards. So now that we've gathered some information, some intel from the mock draft process, we're going to step back now and reevaluate the three cornerstone positions that I feel like are very, very, very important for the Green Bay Packers here in 2026. So we're going to start with Jordan Love, and his hot start is he's just continuing to roll along. As we're going to compare his numbers to two other Hall of Fame quarterbacks, obviously Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. We'll kind of talk about where he sits statistically with their first, I think it's 48 starts, if I remember correctly. We'll dive into all of that. Then we're going to shift gears to the defensive side of the ball and talk Devontae Wyatt. Is he the 3-tech of the future? Is he that dude? Is he that guy that's going to lead this defense to a Super Bowl? And if not, how do we fix that problem if he's not going to be that guy in the future? We'll dive into that. We'll talk draft. We'll talk free agency. Also, we'll hit on Jordan Morgan at left tackle. Do we feel comfortable having him be the left tackle of the future? Do you still take a swing in the draft? And who knows, maybe you hit on a franchise left tackle and you continue to move Jordan Morgan around. And then, okay, you've got your left tackle of the future and you're off and rolling. So we're going to cover all that. Before we do, if you would, do that YouTube stuff for me. Hit like. Hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. We are not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you hit all future content that we put out here on the channel. I want to give a shout out to Thomas in the chat. Generous little dono here. Says top of the morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Thomas. Appreciate the super chat, sir. Hopefully everybody in the chat's having a great morning. Tim, Jacob, how we doing, boys?
Got the cup of diesel going, man. Good morning. Top of the morning, fellers. Got a fresh layer of snow up here in Green Bay, doing good. Happy Friday, boys.
Absolutely. We made it. So we had a little bit of extra snow yesterday as well. I had to get up at 5:30 in the morning, go do snow removal on a business. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, if you guys have noticed too, some of our streams, you'll notice products tagged in the info at the bottom. Like if you're just going on your phone, you'll see Cafe Bustelo is kind of a brief partner with us right now. If you guys purchase that coffee, that's the coffee I drink. I know Emilio loves it too. As soon as I asked him what coffee he liked and he said Bustelo, I went, oh, we're going to get along just fine here. It's strong. It's dark. Don't get me wrong, but really good stuff. So if you click on that link, that's another way you can support the show as well there. So just showing them that, hey, I actually interested in buying the coffee that these guys drink. So anyway, let's get into it, boys. First topic of the morning here is quarterback position. And again, in no way, shape, or form is anybody saying that Jordan Love is not the guy here, right? That's not what we're saying, all right? We're simply going, okay, how is he tracking a couple of other Hall of Fame quarterbacks? If he was significantly lower than Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers in these statistical categories, Tim, I wouldn't be hitting the panic button. You could win a Super Bowl with a good quarterback. But the fact that these numbers shake out so well, and there's a little bit of controversy around these stats, so anybody hearing my voice, do your own research. I've used 3 different AI tools, and they're all pulling the same numbers. I've got someone on Twitter telling me that the win-loss record is actually different, that Brett Favre's was not that well. Could be the case. Again, you guys do your own research. I'll also mention that here in a second. But here are the big 3, if you will, first 48 career starts. And again, these are regular season career starts. Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, okay? Here is what AI has pulled up for these statistics. Let's start with the win-loss record. Jordan Love, 27-20-1. Aaron Rodgers, 27-21. And then Brett Favre, 31-17. There's where the problem lies. Yeah. So Harry DeMarco over on X said, wow, a lot of miscalculation here. Also in 92, he famously came in relief of Don Majkowski in week 3, so didn't make this first start until week 4 or so. So he's showing the record 8-5, 9-7, 9-7, and then in 95 started 2-1 to get to the 48 starts. So he's saying it's actually 28-20, which obviously, Tim, it kind of leans towards Jordan Love has been, even more on par than the numbers that I originally pulled here. So when you're looking at the win-loss record, how soon we forget, Tim, that some of the greatest quarterbacks in history didn't get off to these roaring starts, right? However, Jordan Love's tracking when it comes to win-loss record, man.
He sure is. I mean, I'm seeing 31-19, 32-18 for Brett Favre. I mean, we can debate technicalities all day, right?
You think God never farted?
Very well said.
But at the end of the day, Jordan Love is tracking in comparison to our previous, GOAT quarterbacks. So, yeah, absolutely. This is where we want to be right now. Absolute slam dunk draft pick by Goody for sure.
Now, Jacob, many people will say, well, wins aren't a quarterback stat. I kind of agree with that too. Like you can't just go off the win-loss. You could be a part of it. I mean, look at Arch Manning and what he did down there with New Orleans, right? They were horrible teams, but he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. So I can understand that sentiment to a certain extent. But passing yards, Jordan Love, 11,535. Brett Favre, 10,085. So Jordan, obviously it's a different era. I get that. I know that's what many people are going to say. But Jordan is already, 1,400 more yards ahead of Brett Favre, 48 starts in. Aaron Rodgers, however, was at 13,326. That's more of an apples-to-apples comparison there between him and Love. Although, when you look at touchdowns, passing touchdowns, Jordan Love, 83. Brett Favre, only 67. Aaron Rodgers was up to 94. So, obviously,
His receiving is tough.
He was the touchdown machine. Interceptions. So, touchdown-interception ratio. Brett Favre, 67 touchdowns, 53 picks. Now, Jordan Love, 83 touchdowns, 31 picks. So, obviously, he's right in between Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers in those numbers, obviously, with Aaron being 94 touchdowns, 33 picks. What do you think about this, Jacob? It's pretty wild how these stats continue to line up almost perfectly, man.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's sitting here throwing some shade on Love needs to really take a step back and look at what's actually – like you said right there, it's on paper, man. And I think what shocks me more than any other stat line there is the interceptions. We all knew Aaron Rodgers for being the protector of the football, arguably one of the best, most accurate throwers of all time. I think even Tom Brady said that. But then you look at the fact that, like you said, he's just about 11 shy of Rodgers' touchdowns with 2 less picks. I mean, and then right in between the two of them with the yardage, like you talked about. It's unbelievable. I mean, I don't think that you'd ever find another franchise that has a best or a better 30-year run at the quarterback position than the Green Bay Packers have done. And while we all want to sit here and we've talked about it on this podcast, how, maybe Goody and certain other people need to be under the microscope for maybe doing this or that in free agency or with the draft or whatever the case may be. But like Tim said, this is a winner pick right here, right? Like, I mean, this guy he's a franchise quarterback. He is going to be, if he keeps on this pace, he's a future Hall of Famer, guys. Like that's just what it is.
For sure. I'm a big proponent of wins and losses are not a quarterback stat, right? Neither are Super Bowl titles, right? Those are team statistics. But when you start looking at passing yards, tutters, TD to interception ratio, completion percentage, passer rating, I mean, look at Jay Money right on the heels of Mr. AR12, and you got to love it for sure.
Yeah. And, the big concern with Love, every time a young quarterback gets his career launched, there's usually, all right, here's what he does really well, and here's what he needs to work on, right? And Love's was very comparable to, in my opinion, to like a Josh Allen. Josh Allen, you could see the elite arm talent, right? But he had accuracy issues coming out of college. Jordan Love, that's what I was always concerned about, was the accuracy issues. He seems to have fixed that. And again, when you look at his completion percentage, 64.3% is his career completion percentage. Aaron Rodgers, up to this point, that's Jordan's. Aaron Rodgers up to this point was 64.5%. Now, immediately people think, okay, Clayton, but what did Aaron finish with? The last I checked, his career completion percentage was 65%.
65%.
65%. That's what So Jordan is right there, right? Jordan is right on par with Aaron. Now, Brett's obviously He threw a lot more incomplete, maybe not a lot more incomplete. He threw more incompletions, we would all agree, right? 61.2% was his completion percentage. And obviously he was going to put the ball in harm's way more often than Aaron did. But when you look at the passer rating as a whole here, Brett Favre's was 81.2, Aaron Rodgers 99.4. Jordan Love is sitting at 96.8 right now. So he's got a protective. Really, the only way he could catch up to Aaron is to throw a couple less interceptions, although last year he did that, right? I mean, that was a great step in the right direction. But you got to get the ball in the end zone a little bit more as well. And it really goes hand in hand with why the Packers haven't been able to take that next step. Now, 25 points in the fourth quarter that you gave up to the Bears, obviously that's the reason you lost that game. Jordan Love threw 4 touchdowns in that game with no picks. However, coming down the stretch there, we got to get the ball in the end zone a little bit more, right? That's what it essentially comes down to. Whether it's passing or running, you need to be more effective, more efficient in the red zone. Then I love just kind of going through and looking at some of the NFL pro data as well. EPA per drop back this year across the league. Drake May led the league at 0.25. Jordan Love was tied for second at 0.20 with, if I understood correctly, Matthew Stafford did win the MVP award. Is that right? So when it comes to efficiency, EPA per drop back, Jordan Love tied the NFL MVP this year at a positive 0.20, an elite statistic there. Completion percentage over expected, Jordan Love finished 5th in the league at plus 3.8%. With your MVP, I don't even see him in the top 11 there in terms of completion percentage over expected. So why does that happen, guys? Oh, I don't know, because you got Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. Now, I'm going to be a little bit critical here for just a second. You guys remember we were saying bring Davante Adams back to Green Bay? Imagine if Jordan had Davante Adams on one side, Christian Watson on the other, Matthew Golden in the fold, Romeo Doubs doing what he does on third down. If you had put that piece in place, maybe we'd be talking about him in the contention for the MVP, right? Again, we're not worried about MVPs. I just wanted to point that out, that you do not see Matthew Stafford in the top 10 in terms of completion percentage over expected. And again, that's kind of giving you a clean slate, everybody on an even playing field, right? When you look at that, it's like, damn, Jordan Love, there's a case to be made that he on a per play basis, essentially, he kind of outperformed Matthew Stafford in some statistical categories, which is wild to think about. And then, of course, passer rating, Matt Stafford with the extra touchdowns there, 46 touchdowns to only 8 picks, 109.2. That's where he separated himself. Jordan Love finished 6th at 101.2, which led to this graphic that the Packers tweeted out. There's your 2 leaders on offense, boys. You had Josh Jacobs, even with all the injuries, 14 touchdowns this year, and Jordan Love with a 101.2 rating. And obviously, when you go back to the career stats here, Jacob, Jordan Love's passer rating is 96.8 on his career. So obviously he's trending in the right direction continuously.
Yeah. And a couple of people in the chat mentioned it. Like if he had, more time on the field, because we forget that he's, had to battle with some injuries here and there. But when he's been on the field, man, I mean, he gets a lot of flack, I think, and people don't understand if they put these comparisons up, these 3 different, again, 2 for sure Hall of Famers versus what Jordan has done. I mean, it's hard to sit here and actually listen to a negative fan say that Jordan Love's not the guy. He's not the guy. He is. He is the guy. He's up there in a rare echelon, a rare type of air. Tim has said it for years now. Why is he number 10, Tim?
Because he only throws dimes, baby.
I'm telling you, and that's exactly what this statistic is showing us. I mean, if you're throwing better than Brett Favre, it sounds like you're doing a pretty good thing, right? Like, I mean, we're in town to play the Dolphins. You know what I'm saying? Like, just come on, guys.
I do think it's a great point to make, though, because, you look at, first of all, I would like to say this. Congrats to Matt Stafford. He's been in the mix multiple times as an MVP candidate. And,
did you see the way he got told that he was the MVP?
No.
He had his 4 daughters came in and gave him a little kind of tribute, and then surprised him and told him that he was the MVP, which it was pretty cool to see.
That's awesome. Yeah, I caught a little bit of the NFL honors last night, but just seeing him get one finally, congrats to Matt Stafford. I think he's kind of caught a lot of heat over the last few seasons or so, and I believe he's one of the upper echelon playing right now. But that being said, look at Jordan Love. Like, to Clayton's point, I mean, in nearly every statistical category, Jordan's right there in the mix. Sometimes on a list where Matt Stafford's name doesn't fit. So, pound for pound, to say that Jordan Love is not the guy, not a franchise quarterback, is honestly kind of crazy to me at this point, because you can see it. You can see it on tape. You can see it in the stat sheet. You can see it the way he leads as a teammate on and off the field. So I think it's good to see him in that company right now.
Yeah, got it, man. All right, so there you go, guys. And we had a little bit of hiccup there. I believe it might have been on StreamYard's side, but hopefully they could hear you good enough there, Tim. I know I understood what you said there. It was a little bit muffled. StreamYard, boy, I tell you, they just trying to push me in a different direction. I'm just gonna tell you right now. Memphis Magic, the barber. Imagine if Tucker stayed healthy. See, that's the other thing too. Hell, imagine if Elton Jenkins had stayed healthy. Imagine if Tucker had stayed healthy. Imagine if Jaden Reed didn't go out in week 2 and miss most of the season. Imagine if
I'm not gonna lie, I was faded. I ain't gonna lie, I was faded. Like,
imagine if Christian Watson had been available all year and not until November, right? Like, there's a lot of things that come into factor. Imagine if all those guys had been healthy and you had Devontae Adams on the roster. You know what I mean? But this is the difference. This is what Mike McCarthy talked about in Green Bay, is the difference. Sometimes the difference between good players and great players is the people you put around them and the scheme in which they're playing in. That's essentially what it comes down. He says there's no bad football players in the NFL. Some people are just put in a position to thrive, and others are maybe kind of, dragging a little extra weight with them. So, again, that's just a quick look at where Jordan Love is. I think we all feel comfortable that Jordan Love is the franchise QB. Some people are laughing, going, welcome to the party. We've been saying it for a long time. Again, we're resetting for the year and going, okay, let's look at the cornerstone pieces here of the roster. Jordan Love, obviously off to a hot start. So if you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about Jordan Love's start? Do you feel like he is a top 3, top 5 quarterback? Are you happy with the way he's performed? Do you think he'll continue to get better? Let us know how you feel. Take the conversation to the comments. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. All right, boys, let's shift gears now to another potential cornerstone piece. And we're going to go to the defensive side of the ball, and then we'll wrap up back on the offensive side of the ball.
Can I interject one thing real quick before we move on? Congratulations, absolutely. Bobby Wagner, Walter Payton Man of the Year recipient. Well-deserved. Speaking of, premier defenders in the league, big shout-out to Bobby Wagner taking that award last night. If Jordan Love didn't win it, that would have been my second pick for sure. So salute to Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner still hurts me, man. We were screaming to go get him 3 years ago, and we got raked over the coals for it. He's just played good football every year, everywhere he's gone. You're talking about a great piece in the middle of that defense. That would have been absolutely awesome for sure. So, yeah. All right, man. Moving along now, let's move on to the Devontae Wyatt talk here. And again, 3-tech. All right, we talk about it every year. 3-tech is so important to the defensive side of the ball. It's a tier 1 position of importance. Is Devontae Wyatt the 3-tech of the future? I'm going to try to keep my personal opinion out of this. I just want to run through the facts, run through the numbers, okay, and show exactly where he stacks up across the league. We're going to talk about potential free agent signings. We're going to talk about potential draft choices. And the reason I wanted to revisit this, guys, I know we covered it earlier in the offseason, is when we have done our mock drafts, the one thing that's been so consistent in every mock draft we've done is picking at 52 and then at 84. We never find ourselves in a position to take a 3-tech that we feel great about. There's always prospects that are ranked higher than them at other positions of needs. So with that being said, let's kind of dive into, all right, what are the options? Let's revisit this. And let's start with, is Devontae Wyatt the 3-tech of the future? Remove the name, okay? Remove the name and just imagine you're just hearing the stats. You're hearing the numbers. You're hearing the grades, okay? Here are his PFF grades throughout his career, starting in 2022 with minimal snaps, 69.9, 59.6, 66.4, 52.9. So this year he went down and had his lowest graded year according to PFF. It was his lowest graded year. So Emilio, just jump in whenever you want, man. No rush. Just whenever you're comfortable. He may just be back there
just checking on everybody. Yeah.
Playing rookie on Madden. I got you, bro.
Apparently his mic sounds better than mine. Do I still sound terrible?
No, you're good now, Tim.
You're cleaned up, Tim. You're cleaned up. It just hit one of those glitches where sometimes when we hit a sound bite, it'll muffle out. So you're good, man. You're good. All right. So, yeah, Devontae Wyatt, man, PFF grade isn't everything, but this is – I ain't going to BS anybody, man. It's a little bit alarming. And we talk about this. He is a very good pass rusher, right? We always say that. 71.4 is the pass rush grade. Run defense, 38.7. So again, his overall grade is a 52.9. When you look at what he did on the year too, he started off strong, right? Weeks 1 through 4, 78, 68, 56, 70. Well, guess what? He gets hurt. So he doesn't return until week 8. Here are his grades from week 8 to week 13. 68, 60, 33, 32, 44, 50. Then he goes back on IR. He's done for the rest of the year. So for me, man, when you look at this, there's two different things that are alarming, right? First of all, I'm not saying PFF is everything. We're going to look at the other numbers here as well. But when you look at what he's supposed to do good, it's rush the quarterback, right? That's his superpower. Well, when you look at his pass rush grade down the stretch, it didn't look like a superpower. 55, 50, 61, and 65. On top of that, the second thing, he can't stay healthy. He hasn't been able to stay healthy his entire career so far, right?
I wonder if those go hand in hand, right? The ankle and the taper off in the play, like trying to rehab and finish out the year.
I'm sure, man. And now let's cross-check it with NFL Pro data here, okay? Quarterback pressure percentage. This is for interior defenders or defensive linemen, if you will. There's going to be some edge that sneak in there as well. But when you look at his quarterback pressure percentage, 7.7%. Now, keep in mind, it's defensive tackle and most edge defenders, okay? There's only a handful of them that are listed as linebackers, like Micah Parsons being one. When you're saying that you finished 57th in the league at only 7.7% pressure rate, and you're the 3-tech, this would be different if this was Kobe Wooden playing one, playing shade, playing nose, playing touch spot. That would be different. This is your 3-tech. This is the dude that you're trying to isolate in one-on-one situations. 7.7% is not good enough. Now, if you're wondering where Rashawn Gary is on this list, everybody wants Rashawn Gary's ass ran out of town. Rashawn Gary's overrated. All the things you've heard this whole time. He finished 21st at over 12%, just so everybody knows. Okay. So again, he's underperformed. Why it's underperformed in terms of quarterback pressure percentage there at 57. Sack percentage, when he hits home, this is the positive stat. He finished 21st with a 1.9% sack rate, according to NFL Pro. Look who he's tied with, guys.
I was just
Rashawn Gary at 1.9%.
Right there with Van Gary.
Right. So again, it's like in one side of people's mouths, they're saying Devontae Wyatt is a stud. He's a dog. We got our 3-tech, because we've seen those comments when we talk about potentially taking a defensive tackle in the draft. And then when you look at the numbers, those same people who are acting like Rashawn Gary is horrible at football, the numbers suggest something totally different. Now, again, I'm not saying you should keep Rashawn Gary at the $28 million that he's due. He's got to take a pay cut if he wants to be a Packer. We got to make sure it's worth it for the Packers first and foremost. However, this whole idea that Devontae Wyatt is just an elite pass rusher, he's a great pass rusher, I'm having a hard time backing it up with the numbers. So what's your all's take? Let's go around the horn with that real quick. We'll start with you, Emilio. How do you feel about the numbers here? Does that surprise you with Devontae Wyatt? Are you concerned? That coupled with, of course, the injury issue.
Yeah, the numbers do surprise me a little bit. I'm not exactly concerned with Devontae. I think the injury sucks. You know, losing him like that is brutal. But I love when he's on the field and, kind of in the zone, he is cooking. I just pulled up PFF's all of the interior defenders. Our first one is Devontae Wyatt, but he's 87th. So he's tied for 87th out of all of the NFL. That's kind of brutal. You're talking your third string right there, basically. I love him, but if we have an option, I'd love to find somebody else. Looking at the top 51 is Tyleik Williams. We looked at him a lot in the draft there out of Ohio State. He went to Detroit. He had a 62.6, and Devontae ended with a 52.9. So obviously the numbers aren't everything, but I would love to see a little bit more production on the interior. Though I still believe, like I said last night, that we need more help on the O-line. Our numbers need to get better on defense.
All right. Jacob, what do you think, man? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think that what Emilio just highlighted there is pretty poignant. I think two things can be true at once. I'm seeing some guys in the chat saying, like, we had a better defense when he was on the field. That can be true. It can also be true, like Emilio just said, that he's ranking as like a third string type of D tackle. I mean, we do like him when he's on the field. The consistency has been a little bit suspect lately. Like Tim talked about, he just can't stay healthy. And, going forward, I just feel like that we do have to address that. And I know Clayton has brought this up time and time again, that a 3-tech may be one of the, if not one of the most important positions on the defense. And it just feels like that we don't have that type of shutdown game changer 3-tech. And that's what we need if we want to go forward and have a championship football team.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go to the chat real quick, see what everybody's saying. Fishy Things says, I'm just wondering if we can draft better than Wyatt in this draft. See, that's the tough part, Fishy Things. That's what we're getting to here, is when we did the mock drafts, we could not find a situation where we felt great about, okay, this is the 3-tech of the future. Remember last year, if you go back and watch our draft coverage, we talked about 3-tech the entire time, all draft season. It's like this draft is loaded with it. Now, you guys remember my draft crush was Walter Nolan. Now, Walter Nolan got hurt. He finished with over 100 snaps, but he graded a 74. And you could see it. He was dominant. He's going to be a great football player if he can stay healthy, of course. But now, how do you get somebody like him? You got to be willing to trade up and take it, right? You got to be willing to step up. Like, how did we get our hands on Clay Matthews? We traded up, right? Ted Thompson, they said, hey, we got to give up a lot to go up there. And Ted said, I want the player. That's on, there's a documentary on that where Ted told the guy, I can't remember who it was that was helping work the trade, but he said, I want the player. Like you've got to go out and build your defense around these important positions like that. If he hadn't traded up and got Clay Matthews, do we win the Super Bowl in 2010? Yeah. So if we're going to continuously just kind of, the board didn't fall just right, we better trade back. Again, scared money don't make money, right? Like we talk about all the time. So I'm just saying, if we continuously just kind of brush this to the side, it's going to be an issue. Now let's look at the free agents that we're talking about here. Some of these are nose tackles. You guys know how I feel about defensive tackle. If it's a dominant defensive tackle, you can play them at 3-tech. You can play them at nose. We're talking about guys that are field tilters, right? Is what we're looking for. I'm not saying any of these cats are, but when you look at them real briefly here, what you've got is Calais Campbell out of Arizona. And again, we've talked about this before. 10.9 is the projection. All right. And this is sorted by market value according to Spot Track, comp comparisons for at their position, similar age and whatnot. Calais Campbell at the top of the list at 10.9. David Onyemata at 8.5. Logan Hall at 7.9. John Franklin Myers at 7.8. You may get a couple edge defenders that mix in here as well. Sheldon Rank at 7.5. You got Sebastian Joseph at 6.8. So now we're having to look at this like, okay, if we want to add depth at 3-tech, at defensive tackle in general, you're going to have to be aggressive in free agency to make it happen, because I'm telling you, what we're seeing is it's not making sense to take a defensive tackle according to how the board falls when we do our mock drafts until like the 5th and 6th round. You can't expect – let me tell you what you're going to get. You're going to get another Warren Brinson, which I'm not saying he's going to be a bad football player, but he's a late-round pick. How can you expect that guy to come in and anchor a defensive line? You just can't do it. You can't. So I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but if you don't go out and spend a little bit of money in free agency and try to help shore up that position, you're going to find yourself in a bad spot, in my opinion, this year, especially seeing that Wyatt hasn't been able to stay healthy as well. Right now, I love what Solder says in the chat. If Gary is back, you could cobble together a pass rush 3-tech from a Gary and LVN combo. Love that thought process. Now, will Jonathan Gannon do that? We know that Jeff Hafley started mixing and matching with those cheetah packages and putting LVN at the 3-tech, right? I would love to see Rashawn Gary at the 3-tech. That would be awesome. If you give him a little constant rotation in there, imagine him and Devontae Wyatt in the middle, pushing the pocket with our boys on the outside, LVN and Micah Parsons, right? And then, of course, you're mixing and matching Barron Sorrell and some of these other younger guys. I think that's a great idea, Solder. Will they do it? I don't know if Gary will be back. It kind of feels like Gary, I don't know, I'm kind of like 60-40 that Gary will be gone. That makes sense. It kind of feels that way. Unless he's going to take a pay cut. If he's willing to take a pay cut, yeah, it's a no-brainer, bring him back. But it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how that falls into place. Chester Marco said the point is almost everyone is starting mediocre 3-techs because they are as rare as a unicorn. They're going to continue to be rare too, Chester, if you don't spend the draft capital to trade up and go get one when you know one's dominant, when you think, okay, that is my dude. And again, everybody was excited about Matthew Golden. We finally took a wide receiver in the first round, right? That's what you got. Was a rookie with limited snaps. He was running wrong routes. People don't want to talk about this. They just say Matt LaFleur don't know how to use him. We've seen him running routes into other receivers' routes. We've seen him not being on the same page with Jordan on the choice routes. Jordan came out and said, yeah, he's gotten significantly better at that. Therefore, he's saying, yes, there were mistakes early. And also you had some of the injuries as well. Hindsight being 2020, I get it. But, man, I'm telling you, if you don't stick to the tier 1 positions, you're going to find yourself in a bad spot. So any thoughts on all that? And then we're going to go through the PFF grades for some of these free agents here too.
I feel like we're kind of in a tough spot right now because, like you said, is the 3 tech of the future available in this draft class?
Right.
Possibly, if you're willing to trade up or move mountains to get a guy that you're in love with. And we certainly know the 3 tech of the future is not on the free agent market. So where does that leave us? You've got to meet somewhere in the middle, right? You've got to try, like you said, you've got to try and patch this up. Have faith in Heavy D to perform this year. Hopefully he's not, injury riddled like he was last year. But I think it's you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place when it comes to that D line, unless you're willing to, take a swing or multiple swings in the draft. You either got to move up early or you've got to take, a swing or 2 late, I think, if you're talking D tackles.
Yeah. Coach Lynn has a great point here, Jacob. He says Gary played 3 tech at Michigan. If you guys go back and look at his highlight reel, the stats weren't through the roof. I had a good buddy named Jeremy that lived up in Pennsylvania, and he's a big Michigan fan. And I immediately reached out and said, tell me about this Rashawn Gary guy. He said, dude, unsung hero of our defense, said he's a selfless player. There was times, he said, Clayton, you can go find the tape. He was being blocked by 3 and 4 guys in the middle of the defense. So I think that's a great point there, Jacob. And to kind of steer the conversation towards draft picks, obviously, when you look at the top defensive tackles, forget 3 tech. Let's just put them all into one pot because a truly elite player can play 3 tech if you need him to do that in a nickel set. Caden McDonald is at the top of the list. 25.2 is the grade. Caleb Banks out of Florida, 31.2. Kristen Miller, 32.0. Peter Woods, 36.7. The first guy that kind of feels like there might be in range where we could potentially take him is still a little bit of he's probably going to be gone, Jacob, at 48. That's Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. And Lee Hunter's a big body defensive tackle. He's not like your true 3 tech. This is what we're running into, man. It's going to be hard to figure this out in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, like Tim said earlier, it is going to be tough just at the position that we are in that draft. And, I love the idea of maybe I've seen a lot of comments coming in being like, let Gary bulk up again. Let him kind of go back to being more of like a stout type of we've asked him to do a lot of different things. And I think that's a similar thing that he was, he was like the guy just previously mentioned, he was asked to do certain things at Michigan. He was asked to do certain things in Green Bay the first couple of years. Then all of a sudden we want him to, be a different type of edge defender in Wisconsin, or I'm sorry, in Green Bay. And it just, to me, feels like that we've unfortunately maybe taken this guy out of his element. Let's let him go back to what he does best, and whatever that may be is, if we can bulk him up a little bit, and if he is able to kick inside, that'd be awesome to just watch an actual Rashawn Gary unleash on some sort of, offense. I don't know if that's going to happen. Look, we talked about the contract issues and whether or not he's going to be able to take a pay cut or whatever the thing may be, but I really do feel for Rashawn Gary, because this guy has just put everything. He's always been a team player. He's always just absolutely given himself to the team. Whatever they ask him to do, he does it. And, I just wish that we maybe, give him a little more love back,
Yeah. And you got to be kidding me. He says, I remember a Michigan linebacker crediting Gary for his own success. I remember PFF raking Gary over the coals. They literally said, there's two good pass rushers coming out in this draft from Michigan. It's Chase Winovich and it's Rashawn Gary. And you can go find the tweets. They're still up to date. PFF raked Gary over the coals and said, you watch, Chase Winovich is going to be the better pro. Chase Winovich has been out of the league for a couple of years now, right? Yeah. Gary's still doing his thing. Exactly. So, Emilio, just to fall back and do a little bit of background on this. Notice at the top of this list, T'Vondre Sweat, 83.4 last year. And again, well, he's not a 3 tech. What's that pass rush grade guys look like right there? 74.1. This is what I'm talking about. Like, you can't just say, nope, he's just a nose. He's just a nose. He can't play 3 in a pinch. If we were to have drafted T'Vondre Sweat, and I remember, Emilio, he dropped on our board significantly. Mm-hmm. We had him as the 3rd best defensive tackle on our board, and he sank out of sight on everyone else's board. Now, we had him red because there were injury concerns.
Right.
Obviously, that seems to have been somewhat cleaned up. He had 380 snaps this year, so maybe he was a little banged up at this level as well. But
didn't he have some off-field issues that we were worried about as well?
I can't remember. I know he was lit up in red for the injury. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But David Onyemata here, in terms of free agents, Emilio, that's one that kind of piques my interest a little bit. 78.2. If you could truly go out and get David Onyemata for $8.5 million for a 1 or a 2 year deal at 33 years old, that might be a quick little patch it up for a year or two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's not a terrible look either. At some point, you're going to have to, make a decision. We talked about you can't always be the youngest, but you got to find somebody that's going to fit that that money value. Because I was just taking a peek. The other two, D lineman Warren Brinson was 113th with a 44.2, and Carl Brooks was 108 with a 46.3. Like we need a little bit of help in there, absolutely. And when you go back down where Clay has the D line from on our board, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people under a total of 50 on that far right column there. So you're looking at it as you've got maybe 5 chances in the first round or two to get a D lineman that you think might be worth it. Besides that, then we start jumping into, all right, you're taking a guess on, is this guy going to be, have the killer instincts? How well did he play? 100 plus on the score there is not terrible, but not looking at the, the potentially not a 3-tech of the future, when you're looking that deep in the draft. So, nothing against Warren Brinson or anything, but yeah, 113 is kind of rough to be, just kind of rinsing and repeating it for your D line this year.
Yeah, and I know there's a portion of the fan base too, Tim, that they think, okay, our defense is fine when Devontae Wyatt's out there. I got it. I'm telling you, you're going to find yourself in the same situation again, to where if he gets hurt, all of a sudden the defense starts to crumble. And again, you don't need him to be elite. I'm simply saying he's 28 years old. Okay. He's due for a contract after this year. Are you going to give him a 3 or a 4 year deal? That's tough for me. That's really tough. Therefore, you need to keep trying to find that guy. Now, the problem we got is Goody whiffed on Aaron Banks, right? And as it sits right now, Anthony Belton graded out in the 40s. Okay. Now, let's say, no, that's a horrible grade. Okay, how would you say that Anthony Belton played then, right? Like you can't just say, no, I disagree with that grade, and then turn right around and give him a C or a D. You know what I mean? So the 2 swings that Goody took to fix our offensive line in the offseason was Anthony Belton in the 2nd round, who we played out of position since day one. He was a left tackle in college. We put him at right tackle, then we kicked him into guard. I feel like he played best at guard. But the other one was Aaron Banks at left guard, and that seems to be a swing and a miss as well. So, again, the reason I point that out, Tim, is now you're going into your second offseason with us saying we need to fix O-line, and now you're really looking at D tackle going, oh, crap, we got a problem here at 3-tech. You know what I'm saying? So everything's starting to pile up.
I think that's a fair assessment, and you guys know that I'm a Goody stan to a certain degree, but you've got to acknowledge some of these misses. And hell, we got rid of TJ Slaton. We didn't want to pay TJ Slaton. We had a guy that was pretty good against the run on the interior of that defensive line. And then you combine him with a guy like Devontae Wyatt, who's a pass rushing dog. Maybe that made sense, but you let TJ Slaton walk and you expected Devontae Wyatt to become a run stuffer. And that's not, his bread and butter as a D tackle. So I think it's fair. The criticism is warranted. What do we do now to kind of fill in the blanks? Because I don't think you're going to just, find that guy of the future, whether it's free agency or the draft. So we may need to do both when it comes to that D line. And then, like you said, Clay, when it comes to the O line, here we go again. We need pieces. We need pieces on the interior. We need, pieces on the outside as well.
Yeah, I immediately thought of CJ from Grand Theft Auto. Oh, crap. Here we go again, right? So, all right, guys, if you guys are watching this back later, let us know in the comments, how do you feel about 3-tech? Maybe you're not as concerned as we are about it. We want to hear from you. Let's take the conversation in there. What would be your answer? Maybe you think Devontae Wyatt's the dude. Maybe you think he'll play till he's 33 or 34 and play effectively. Who are we to disagree with that? We want to hear all the comments, all of the opinions. Let us know there. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you catch all the future content moving forward.
Out of the real quick, Clay, out of the top 50 for PFF grades for D linemen, there are 3 Tennessee Titans, 3 Rams, 3 Seahawks, 4 Falcons, 3 Broncos. I mean, you got a lot of teams with multiple players in the top 50.
Yeah.
That, you know, obviously the Titans didn't get there, but you're looking at Broncos, Patriots have 2. You know, there's a lot of talent out there, and it looks like it's stacked on, you know, a few teams.
And you remember in free agency last year, the top defensive tackle in many people's eyes was Milton Williams. Right? Milton Williams was that dude. Now, I wasn't as sold on him. I would have been, if the Packers had went after him, that's great. I would have been okay with it, right? But it did feel like you're going to be overpaying for good, not overpaying for great. He has played really well for the Patriots this year, right?
71-2.
Was he on the Eagles?
26th. What's up?
Was he an Eagles guy?
No.
Yeah, he was on the Eagles. Yeah, the Patriots signed him. And again, he didn't play elite, right? 71.2, though. That's way better than our 54.
There's 2 Eagles on the board. I mean, we don't have anybody in the top 75, top 87, whatever. 87 was where our first one came in. So you got teams with 3, 4 multiples. We need to do something there.
Absolutely. Super chat here from Solder says the miss on D line picks has been a thing since 2011. Is the problem now the Packers evaluate the positions along the D front? It could be how they evaluate the positions. And here's the thing, Solder, like nothing has changed with how the Packers operate, right? Like I point this out all the time because people say, well, Goody wasn't the GM then. I know Goody wasn't the GM then, but Goody was basically he was the replacement for Ted Thompson. He is an extension of Ted Thompson. It doesn't mean they do everything exactly the same, but again, he's been a scout with the Packers forever.
He's
right?
been there for 27 years.
Right. So nothing has changed, right? I think you make a great point, Solder. Something's off there. And when you hear Emilio talk about, you know, other teams that are in the playoffs and their guys are grading out really, really well, all this points back to draft evaluation. All this points back to the general manager. It truly does. Like right here, perfect by Mike Z. He says, can we say for once Goody isn't investing enough time into injury-prone players? Once again, look at all the injuries we had with the youngest roster. The pro to having a young roster is supposed to be, well, you'll be able to stay healthier. That didn't happen. So at some point, we've got to acknowledge that, hey, maybe Goody isn't as perfect as I know. I thought he has been a great, you know, GM in the past. Maybe I've given him too much credit because these problems are starting to kind of pile up over time. Now, when you hit on Jordan Love,
yeah, I was just going to say, is it one of those things where when he hits, man, does he hit slam dunk, but when he misses, it's like, oh my gosh, yikes.
And the pros and cons of this, right? Think about this, guys. No GM is going to be great at everything, right? Let's put it this way. Who has the GM drafted at quarterback for some of those playoff teams? Like Drake May, he was drafted by, I want to say that Elliott Wolf had already taken over. If not, actually, no. Elliott Wolf, I don't think, had taken over as GM. There was kind of a Cole group there, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. Maybe the first year they did promote Elliott Wolf, but nonetheless, they drafted Drake May, right? So they're able to hit on quarterback. They didn't draft a great 3-tech. They went in free agency and got him, right? So you could see nobody's perfect. I'm not asking Goody to be perfect. And to Tim's point, what you're finding is his strength and his being an extension of Ted Thompson and everything within the building. Boy, oh boy, does Green Bay know how to draft quarterbacks, right? They knocked that out of the park. However, D tackle, it's a little bit rough. Unless you got a top 10 pick, top 15 pick, whatever it was when we took B.J. Raji, right? So that's a little bit different.
Remember Jonathan Jolly?
Yeah.
Johnny Jolly. Yes, sir.
Sipping on my scissor, that man. I remember that. Jolly was a key part of that team, though, man. He really was. It sounds like I think he's gotten his life straightened out, which is awesome to see. I want to say he was back in Green Bay this past year. But Mike Z with the super chat, thank you so much, buddy. He says, we have a, quote, winning problem. When you win consistently, you will not be drafting high. Therefore, you need to be willing to make moves in free agency. In my opinion, it's a great point, Mike. You always find yourself at the bottom of the first round, right? That's a great point. And Emilio, correct me if I'm wrong, but last year, didn't we say that the rumor was there were 15 like top tier guys essentially, like you would, and then after that it dropped off, and then you had like from 16 to like whatever it was beyond 50. Daniel Jeremiah said these guys are all kind of in the same ballpark, if that makes sense. So
yeah, yep, absolutely. Yeah, I mean you got all the way down to Ty Robinson, Devon Walker, Jamari Caldwell, Aeneas Peebles. Those are kind of on the edge there, but a lot more talent up top with the D line than we have this year. Like, we looked at that number there. I'd be surprised if you get a bunch of D linemen going. Besides those first 5, I'd say you're probably going to be a little dry in the 3rd and 4th rounds for D line, and then you probably get back into it 5th, 6th, 7th.
Absolutely, man. So thank you for the super chat, Mike. Appreciate you, buddy. Ron Sample had a comment here I wanted to hit. He says if Gannon goes to 3-4, is a nose most important? Seems we have been pretty good guys for a 3-4 defensive end. So yeah, I don't consider nose that top position of importance, and the reason being is if it was 1996 and you're going to be in that 34-70% of your snaps, yeah. Right. But now what we're finding is you're in the nickel set far more often. So, Ron, this is what Matt, when Matt took a shot at the media a couple years ago, when they were going, well, shouldn't you have more than 2 down linemen? You're struggling to stop the run. He's going, and he literally said this, you guys are really exposing yourselves. Like this is, you understand we do got 4 defensive linemen out there. They're just listed as outside linebackers because they're edges, right? Well, yeah, I know that. Okay. Obviously you didn't. You said it, right? Mm-hmm. But the point is you're going to be a nickel defense the majority of the time. Now, as the league continues to press in to 12 and 21, if it gets back to the point where you're going 60-70% of the snaps for over a half of the teams that you could potentially play on any given year with your schedule, yeah, maybe you do go, all right, we got to get a nose tackle that's dominant, right? But until that happens, Ron, I don't see it as the most important because you're going to be a nickel. You're most of the time going to have a 4-man line. And we know Jonathan Gannon likes to get pressure with just a 4-man rush, right? So 3-tech, opposite edge should be your top priorities on defensive line. Listen, I hope Wyatt. I hope I didn't come across like I'm not a believer in Wyatt or I don't want him, to succeed. I hope Wyatt has a Hall of Fame career from here on out. But I'm not going to put my head in the sand and pretend like, oh, no, he's good. The defense is better when he's on the field. Nope, he's good to go. I don't see it like that. When I hear people say that, and you see it all over social media, the defense is way better when Wyatt's out there. I think somebody said it earlier in the chat, the eye test, right? You hear that gets told everywhere. Like I've asked questions on Twitter before, and they go, just use your eyes. What the hell does that mean? Somebody help me. Does that just mean you like the score at the end of the game? Or does that mean you're actually watching every individual snap and looking at what the player is doing? Because since day one, Wyatt has been a good pass rusher, but he's reckless in his run fits. You go to PFF grades and it shows bad run defender. I think he got better at tackling and arriving at confrontation under control, like Mike Wall talks about, right? But at the same time, man, he's not a top 10 defensive tackle, in my opinion. He's just not.
Well, especially if you're getting one-on-ones all the time because you got Mike on the outside. If you're not getting slide protection and you're not getting doubled on the interior, we need somebody to step up and make a play on the inside, especially if Mike could get 2-3 guys, 4 hands, 6 hands on them at all times. Let's get some interior work. Let's get some work on the other side of the line.
Right. Yeah, completely agree. And again, you're going to get more of that with these 4-man rushes. If Gannon goes that route, that's the other thing. Like, just because he did that in Philly, whatever it was, however many years ago, doesn't mean he's going to do it here. And I've got a quick little breakdown. We'll hit this and we'll get out of here. I'm already over on time here. Stuff I got to get done today. When you look at the stunts from 2025 and his Arizona Cardinals, look at the stunts here. On first down, 34% of the time was disguise, 22% was blitz, 17% was stunt. On second downs, stunts just barely jumped to 18%. And then on third down, the stunts go all the way up to 42%, but none of those are in the dark blue. So he brings kind of a very, very balanced approach, if you will. There's none of these that are in the dark blue as you can see them at the top of the list, right? He likes to blitz, he likes to disguise, and he likes to stunt. It looks like he likes to disguise more than anything. Therefore, it kind of goes hand in hand with what Hafley was already doing. Show that mug look and then drop those guys out and only bring 4. That makes me very happy. I like doing that because you put the defense in flux and pass protection, and you've got a jump start on your run gap integrity because you're already close to the line of scrimmage in that gap, if that makes sense. So,
yep. And then every once in a while you can send the dogs, right? Catch that old line sleeping.
Absolutely. Yep. They kind of lull them to sleep because, again, we talk about having that +1 hat count on the line of scrimmage. When you bring that coffee house look, that double A-gap mug, what you're doing essentially is you're making those interior offensive line account for those two inside linebackers. They have to. They can't just let them come free through the line. And then you drop those guys out. Most of the time, you get either a center or one of the two guards that are in no man's land. They're just wandering in the wilderness out there blocking nobody, and you just drop into coverage, right? Now, it's got to marry up with the backside and the coverage and your specific game plan against what these teams are going to do with their trips and tray sets, their 2x2 sets, when they go to split backfield, all that. Because like Matt LaFleur talked about when he said the media was exposing themselves, he specifically said 2 backs equals 2 gaps. If they're a 1 back, we're playing 1 gap. Now, people just think, oh, because we play we're going to play a 34. If we do, because we play a 34, automatically it's 2 gap. That's not how it works. The 34 was designed to help stop the run. And when you got 2 back sets, which was big back when John Madden was coaching in the 70s, when he pretty much invented the 34 defense, or he really pressed into the 34 defense. Obviously, 2 backs equals 2 gaps. All right, let's play a 34 front, maybe a 34 jam with a 5-man front, and let's play 2 gaps with our big boys in the middle. So all that stuff comes into play. Soder with the super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. He says Parsons might miss time. Packers offense will need to win games in 2026. Lean into the interior O-line strength of the draft and let Love rip it. I will say this, man. It does kind of feel like with that hire that they got at wide receivers coach, I immediately thought, maybe we're just going to become a wing it all around a yard.
5 wide, Clay?
Seriously,
wide.
Like, I'm not saying I would want it. You guys know I'm a boring ass fan.
I'm an air raid kind of guy.
It makes you wonder, like, is Matt LaFleur kind of gearing up like, boys, hold up. We're going to let Love wing this all over the yard. Wouldn't that be wild if everybody –
No more bunch nasty X. We're going spread, baby. Let's
seriously
go.
Wouldn't it be wild, though, as the rest of the league is pressing into 12 a little bit more, right? All of a sudden, Matt LaFleur comes out with 4 wide receiver sets. That would be wild. And I'm not talking about a tight end flex either. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
yeah. And what if they do that while McCarthy and Rodgers all of a sudden start going 5 wide again, and we meet each other in the Super Bowl?
It is interesting, though, because it's an opportunity to kind of set up the run game with the pass, right? You're doing that, and then you can eat off that ground game, you know, playing off of the spread formations, you know, keep that defense on their toes.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying expect that from Matt LaFleur and the Packers offense. I'm just saying it would be hilarious if we did just kind of take a step back and start throwing it all over the yard, you know, because we ran
money don't make money.
There you go. There you go. And I believe Love is equipped to do that, man. Quick release, you know, big hands, can handle the ball at the snap, right, and get it out without the laces and everything. We've seen him in the RPO game and all that. It wasn't.
He's a grown ass man now. And
thank you for the super, Soder. Appreciate you, buddy. But again, the whole purpose of today's show was we gathered all this intel, all this information from the draft, the mock drafts that we've done along the way. Here's what we're finding. Based off the information we have right now and the mock drafts we've done, you're best getting your cornerback in the 2nd round, your center or another offensive lineman in the 3rd, go back-to-back in the 4th with another offensive line pick. Then in the 5th round, believe it or not, tight end makes a lot of sense. 6th round pick would be your defensive tackle position. And then your 7th round picks would be where you would get your linebackers. Again, that's just how the board is lining up right now. By the time we get to the draft, the mock draft simulators may have these guys firing off in different directions. And it makes sense that somehow, some way, a Kristen Miller falls to us at 52, right? Then you take your 3 tech, you go best available and kind of reset, you know. So
we could get Big Citrus at 52. You never know.
Man, I tell you, everybody loves him. And I just go off the board. I remove my personal opinion. There's been so many people say they love Dominic Orange, Big Citrus out of Iowa State, right? He's 69th on the consensus big board when we put the information together. He was 65th on the PFF big board. We got a 129 grade on him. Like, if you remove the name, coolest nickname in the draft, by the way. But if you remove the name, okay, just completely removed it and said, okay, let's just go off the PFF grades alone. In 2025, he was the 352nd graded player at his position.
What's hurting him?
Yeah, that's it.
And we gave him the boost with the 23 grade of 136. So I mean that's
kind of middle of the road,
right?
Yeah, he's kind of middle of the road for our D lineman.
Yeah. And again, what does the former NFL scout Daniel Jeremiah think? He's not in his top 50. He's not in Walter Football's top 50 as well. So we're not the only ones that feel that way. We did not give him an All-Star Week bonus. I didn't see enough there to go, man, he dominated the All-Star Week. Not saying he performed bad, but you can find his scouting profile over, as you can see here, I'll pop it up real quick. Anything on our board over in our Patreon group, guys, that has that turquoise color, that means they do have a scouting report. So if you just go into the library here on our Patreon group in these collections, and you can just search, all you got to do is type in, if you just type in orange and hit enter, it'll pull up his scouting report so you can dig in a little bit deeper on him. So if that makes sense. But, and again, the best way to support what we do here at PTA is join the Patreon group, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. That's where you can find a copy of our draft. But we need to get that updated today if we can, Emilio, because I've done a little bit more information there. So if you don't care, we'll throw that in there. And then one last one here, and we'll wrap up. Wes Rob in the house says, are we getting any comp picks this year? We got two 7th-round comps, right? So so we've got 3 7th-round picks. Now, take that for what it's worth, right? That's why I don't get all crazy over comp pick. Like, oh, we'll get a comp pick. We'll get this. It's been very rare that I looked up and went, boy, that comp pick was awesome, So I would rather have the
3 7th-round picks, though. Package a couple together. Move up. You never know.
It's true. It's true. You might have a 3rd-round talent fall to the 5th or 6th round, and then you package those up and go get your guy. That's a great point, Tim. Great point. So anything else, boys? We good?
Good.
All right. Well, let's get out of here. I'm going to go downstairs, try to save my marriage. I want to give a shout out to everybody here in the chat. Thomas being very generous. Appreciate Thomas Ott here with the dono. He also had a super. Soder with the super. Mike Z with the super. And Soder back with the super again. Greatly, greatly appreciate you guys supporting the show. We'll be back later today if news breaks. And we'll cover everything. I wanted to get into Jordan Morgan talk. We'll do that a little bit later. That's the 3rd piece of the potential cornerstones. I want to do a little deep dive in how good do we feel at left tackle, because boy, oh boy, if Jennings Dunker is sitting there and everything screams to play him at left tackle, that I'm not opposed to that. However, if you can get Jennings Dunker and he can kick into center, and that's your starting center moving forward, and then you got Jordan Morgan who played his best ball at tackle, I think that's probably the more realistic way to go. Everybody's saying spin those laces for us. If y'all would, before we hop out of here, hit that like button for us, hit subscribe, click the bell icon. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for jumping in, man. This was fun.
Absolutely.
All right.
Morning show, full house. I love it.
Yeah, man. Everybody up early. Love it. Jacob still hasn't went to sleep since last night's report.
Shut up. Yeah.
He just got back from the office.
Yeah, the old night shift. Yep.
All right. We're out, guys. We'll see y'all later today. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack Go.
Here we go.
Nice.
Bye, guys.